Sorry. Are we good?
Okay, we're live.
Okay. All right, I'll open up this meeting of the Maynard Planning Board. Today's date is June 24th, 2025, and the time is 7:01 p.m. Tonight's meeting is being held in hybrid format, which means members of the public, members of the board, applicant can participate in town hall or virtually through the Zoom link. Please note this meeting is being recorded. Bill, should we turn to, we have an administrative item to conduct tonight.
Yeah, correct. We do, and we have the applicant here as well. Perfect time.
Wonderful.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if we just, as I discussed earlier, for our viewers, Michelle's nice to come down. We need wet signatures, if you guys are good with the, proposed amendment to the development agreement at 115 Main Street. The essence of this agreement is that we're replacing all town maintenance and liability responsibility for the promenade. The applicant and the developer will maintain that in perpetuity. There's a summary of changes, I think, that I distributed around, but Melissa just is a notary, so we needed her to see you guys execute. Did I explain that?
Yes.
Well?
Yeah.
Any questions?
Are there any questions about this particular?
Any questions about the DA?
No.
Okay,
Okay, so the signature page is the one there, if you're okay with it.
let's take a vote that we approve the changes to the DA. I'll make a motion to approve the changes to the development agreement of 115 Main Street as described and provided in previous documents. Need a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor to approve the changes to the DA, please raise your hand. It's 5-0 to approve. So we can sign.
Yeah.
Sure, we have to move on.
Okay.
But do you know, register, because one of the things is that periodically, we have. Usually we use authorized, we used to go about five signatures, but I don't know if you might not have met Chris Klein.
Hey, Chris, nice to meet
And
you.
Jeff Black, you know.
Oh.
Chris, you know, and Natalie, you know.
Yeah.
And the only, and
Nice
Hi,
to meet
nice to
you.
meet you.
they all exist,
Yes, they do.
they show up.
And that we use a special.
Very good board.
I was telling her we're the fun board. Yes. Mhm.
I'm on TV. I can tell
So
you.
we're not fun?
We have fun. And they're a very busy board.
He loves all his children equally is what he's saying.
So I can just bring that to you tomorrow or give it to you now if you want to. Bring it.
No, okay, yeah.
That's it. All right.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks for coming down for that. I appreciate it.
Thank
you.
Everybody, thank you.
Thanks for it.
Stay cool.
You're gonna
You too.
That's the special sign that your DA pen with that.
From
Okay,
the concrete institute.
all right, Bill, shall we turn to item 2?
We have minutes, but we can put that to them. We have the applicant here, Attorney Sullivan is here.
Okay, so I will open up the public hearing for a request for extension of approvals for 25 Nason Street. This is referencing Sugarloaf Maynard LLC. The petitioner is requesting a renewal of an existing site plan and special permit that was previously approved by the planning board. Bill, do you want to give the board an update here and then we'll have the
Yeah.
applicant introduce themselves and
Yeah.
provide context?
It's going to have to be a new permit in this case because we do have a provision in our zoning bylaws that requires substantial development within 2 years towards the use. This was an oversight that I'm sure the applicant will explain. They came in for renewals on the cannabis, on the host community agreement and the other renewals. But in any event, they're going ahead and when we went to look at permits, we said, uh-oh. So,
So, sorry, I'm just noticing, Bill, you're directly behind the pole in the video.
oh. I was adjourned. So, anyway, so yes, the essence of this is that it will have to be a new permit. The circumstances of all are all the same. The one change that the procedurally that we have asked to amend would be that the obligation of the developer to provide a $10,000, a minimum of $10,000 tree where they were going to do the work and install it. Instead of going invoice DPW, $10,000 will go towards the new downtown enhancement fund administered by OMS. And the time frame we keep the same, which I think gives it'll be prior, yeah, well, so that's similar.
So that's staff advice.
That's, well, it is staff advice and DPW now, where we used to they used to handle a tree. They want us to process it. We didn't have a way to process it. We established an account that we could use for GOD projects.
But you're advising that's a reasonable change.
That's a reasonable change and it's requested.
Okay,
Should
I think we can go to the applicant.
Yeah.
Can you ask the applicant to introduce himself for the record?
Mr. Chair, Attorney Walter Sullivan on behalf of Sugarloaf Maine. As Bill said, we are here with a new application for a special permit that mirrors the revised application that was reviewed, that was approved by the board by a 4-to-1 vote on February 14, 2023. It went through a number of hearings before our application was filed on November 11th to 18th, 2022. Staff did their memo to the board. First hearing was held on December 13th. A peer review was done and we made 2 revisions to our application. Then another hearing was held on January 24th. Some more revisions were made in what was before the board on February 14th, 2000.
It was, okay, let's start this again and
Well,
apologies, everybody.
oh my God. So
If it happens again, what do we do?
So what happened was, you know, you've read the paper enough, what's going on at the commission, how long it takes. Needless to say, we were unable to do any work within the 2-year period, and we didn't file for an extension for another year by February 14, 2025, which led us to today requesting another special permit with the changes that that Bill has suggested be made to the special permit you approved on February 14th, 2023.
Thank you, Attorney Sullivan. I guess so, to the board, any questions on what's been presented thus far?
Do we have the updated site plan?
Is, Attorney Sullivan, is there an updated site plan?
I have the application. I believe there is, but I could be wrong. I have the plans as.
I guess the question is there an updated site plan or is it the same site plan that?
It is the same site plan.
Okay,
Well, the original approval was conditioned on updated site plan. Right, I'm sure. So we have that updated
Yeah.
site plan.
Here it is. This is the 5-4. This is the one that was updated and then we brought it back. What was the date of the approval?
We never had the updated for the approval. We never had the updated site plan for the approval because the approval conditions require an updated site.
And this is not the updated one we signed.
I don't think so. Go look at
Maybe that-
go look at the conditions. Conditions reference some other site plan that we never saw.
Hang on. We got it. Well, this was,
I'm not sure if it's ever been updated, but we do owe you we probably owe you still an updated plan that hasn't been done yet.
I had this was approved on February, Valentine's Day, 2023.
Right,
And then the plan I got here is dated May of 2023, so that would be the revised site plan.
oh, so it has been updated.
Okay. That was 3 months after, 2 months after. I don't remember what the changes were.
No, Bill Crenshaw's point is correct. We just need to make sure we know what we're approving.
We need to share this story.
Sure. I don't think every current board member was part of this previous hearing.
No, Jim was still on it. And Bob Brown was on it.
Okay. Do we want to give a quick synopsis on what the site plan shows?
I mean, Walter, can you see that?
Yeah, hold on, let me just pull up when we submit it. So the one that was submitted is. I don't know if. So the one I'm looking at that I have in the file, I'm not sure if it's that one, but I can tell you what ended up happening was, as a result of, VHB doing a, peer study, we had to change from the original parking. I think we were still playing with it a little. And it related to the bollards. If you see where the red marks are, coming out of those spots, if you were backing up out of those spots, you'd be backing up on the sidewalk. Though they were originally parking spaces. And I believe as a result of backing up onto the sidewalk, the revised plan had to get rid of those spaces.
And I believe the other changes where the bollards here.
Yes, we had to put bollards
Yeah.
in, to deal with the door, coming out the back door.
So if the board chooses to approve the plan tonight, the decision, this would be the appropriate plan to reference as the guiding document for the post inspection and whatnot.
So Walter, I think Bill Nemser was asking, if the planning board approves tonight, that this would be the plan that gets approved. Is that
Right.
correct?
This wasn't the one that was submitted, the original one that was submitted prior to this change had where those red lines are, had those as parking spaces. And we
Sure.
needed to change those so cars wouldn't be backing out onto the street. So this was the change that we made.
Understood. And this is the plan that you are requesting to get approval on again.
Yes,
Okay.
So we'll just make this an exhibit again. If you choose to approve.
Bill, has there been any changes in the bylaws that would require us to look at this differently in the last couple of years?
No. No.
Since this is a new hearing, should we explain the site plan or to the people who have never seen it before? Because we really just talked about the change since the last approval, but most people at this desk have not seen it before.
The site plan, if you remember, this was a very limited site plan because it's a use special permit. The site plan, it's an existing structure being built out on the interior, and our concern and the board's concern was largely around circulation safety with the interaction with the public realm and the private realm associated with the business. And so we really, a lot of the aspects of typical site plan review are truncated as it is an existing business. So for example, the only exterior changes I recall making are what we pointed out with the parking, which we looked at as far as the circulation, and in the rear. There was a question about putting a wall in the rear, I think was originally. Well, you guys, well, it's, I think it was proposed that would be in this area here. But the use permit is a 2-year marijuana retailer special permit. The applicant was obligated under the downtown overlay district to demonstrate consistency with forwarding the special permit criteria of the downtown overlay district, and in this case, they met that obligation. Originally, they were proposing doing the work themselves with installation of tree wells and trees. It's since been requested to go into other downtown enhancement funds where the tree, if the tree committee's done a lot since this, and where the tree committee can access it if they wish, but it's not limited necessarily to tree. And that's all with the intention of enhancing the walkability and pedestrian experience of the downtown. I think that's about it. There was a question about dumpster pickup. It's gonna be shared with, Walter, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's going to be shared with, the gourmet store adjacent.
Arts specialty.
Yes.
And, that's good, and to be, and I don't think I have anything else, Bill. I think that's
No,
pretty
I mean,
much.
Chair, I think the original plan that we submitted would have called for a major site plan review because we were changing the facade out front in the doorway. We were able to work it out where we didn't have to do any work on the facade of the building. We put the entrance to the space in the original doorway that exists. The only thing we had to do, and I'll give you an example. So in our host community agreement, it said that we could not share a common space with the other tenant. So in order to make that work, there's on the entrance to the building now up front, there's a wall that's going between the inside to separate those spaces. You open up the front door as it currently is, and you either go in one way into arts and the other way into the space, so that it's no longer common space. So all this, all the site plan relates to is the configuration of making sure the parking work is for safety, and and that issue came up to be on those last spaces backing out onto the street. That became a problem, and so that's why it's changed. So it's in some cases it's a very minimal site plan review since there's no change to the facade.
Has the state law changed any in the last couple of years that would allow the front windows and stuff to be a little more visually appealing rather than just
No, I mean,
hidden that the law
this
requires?
becomes, I have to look at this, I have to, actually look at the drawings again, but what I've done in so the statute's still the same and the regulations saying that you can't look into the retail floor. And the way I've had my clients deal with that is the waiting room is up front. Therefore, the windows aren't frosted. All you're seeing is the waiting room. You're not seeing into it, especially when you're, in urban areas, even like this, the streetscape, how it impacts people walking by. And I can't remember exactly how this one played out with the windows frosted, but the statute and regulations still require that you not be able to see into the into the retail space. That doesn't mean you can't see into the store, you just can't see into the retail space. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Other questions from the board?
We double check the current or the old conditions.
Yeah, Bill, that's a good point. Maybe just walk us through
Yeah.
the previous decision.
I will do it. Okay. Number one, this is what we discussed, this is about the trees and the tree wells. Uh. Two is kind of a boilerplate for, problematic dangerous, otherwise not, I can't remember the board's specific reason for that, but it seems to me it was about pickups in the back, in adjacent to Naylor Court or the base of that. I think there was this, if there was any issue with, pickups and deliveries, I think, or, yeah, I think. The site plan has been updated. Restriping is gonna be with, DPW specifications. Bollards, the posts and infrastructure, the signage. End use TCD, which I don't remember exactly what it stands for, but compliant. We're gonna look at it, once it opens, this is number 6 is a typical one. We've done with all our marijuana businesses, they come back for a posted meeting, don't have to do a public hearing. It's a 2-year special permit, is the max we can approve. 1 year, we ask them just to come in and if there's any issues, so we can address it. And that's where we would use of any modifications. The northern drive alley. Is gonna remain publicly accessible. And the fire lane is for marijuana, delivery only, and that there's a limitation of 15 minutes.
That last condition was active delivery. That was the point of it,
Active delivery.
right? So there's
Right,
no idling, there's no sitting around. It's
Right.
active unloading only.
and see, it was a 4-1 vote. And, so that.
So, condition number 1, about the, whatever, create money or whatever it is. I think more recently, we've clarified when that needed to be paid. And I don't know if we're gonna do that here.
I think if we could easily modify that.
And then the other is, if this is 2 years old, does it need to be, the amounts need to be adjusted?
Stationary adjustment.
Yes, yeah. So, Isn't that?
On the first question, putting a time frame, I believe, Bill, we've been giving applicants
6 months for CL. 6 or 3.
3, yeah, I think the last couple have been 3 months after
CL.
opening. So not necessarily CO, but opening.
That sounds good to me.
It's consistent.
So Attorney Sullivan, what we're discussing is to change condition 1 to be a $10,000 donation to the Downtown Enhancement Fund that shall be paid to the town within 3 months of opening, which is consistent with how we've structured that condition for other applicants in town.
Well, that's no problem.
Okay, thank you.
I have no problem with the amount.
Bill, would you like to propose a change to the amount for the board to consider?
No, I was curious to the board.
What was the second thing?
I mean, it's been 2 years. Do we want to account for inflation? I don't know how to, in this hearing, I don't know how to account for inflation. To change the value. So,
I say we leave it the same.
We have a formula.
We're changing that just to a dollar number, right? Are we just changing it to 10 or are we changing it to 12? I don't think we have the thing about remaining funds.
you don't, I believe Bill Nemser was advising to have it at 10.
Okay.
That sounds good to me.
Hmm?
That sounds good to me.
Keep the 10.
Keep it at 10.
Okay. Well, we'll specify 10,000 within that time frame.
Okay. Chris and Jeff, any thoughts on that number?
I'm okay with that.
I am too.
Okay,
Do you want to open up for public comment?
we will in a minute.
I don't think I do.
Again, Chris and Jeff, you guys weren't on the board, so you did not hear this initially. Do you have any questions so that you have the information to be able to vote on this?
I guess my only thought is, do we have any density limitations? Specifically, because there's marijuana retailer next door. I don't know if there's,
No, the limitations are from the specific uses of those uses. And no, that, I don't know if you're aware of this, but we have no limitation on
The number.
no.
okay. I don't have a problem with it, I just wanna make sure.
Yeah. Sure.
Anything, Jeff?
No.
Mark, I was asking them because they have to vote on it, but you were welcome to. All right, we'll open up for public comment. And for the record, there's no one here in town to help provide public comment. Well, there's no one else, Bill, as I see it, there's no one online to provide public comment either, correct?
We'll see. No.
Okay, all right, well, so public comment was open, but there's no one to provide public comment. Any other questions from the board?
No.
Bill, you have the zoning bylaws pulled up, so you want a minute?
I'm good.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay, Attorney Sullivan, anything final to add before we close the hearing?
No, I don't think so. I think we made the changes from our original plan to deal with a lot of issues that the planning board had, parking, and I think those changes work very well today in town as it did back then.
All right, I'll make a motion to close the hearing. All in favor to close the hearing, please raise your hand. It's 5-0 to close the hearing, in favor of closing the hearing. I guess I'll try to make a motion on this. Unless someone else wants to, you wanna make a motion? You think you can do it?
I could do it if I read what's up there from last time.
Find a motion here. Here.
I make a motion that the proposed site plan is consistent with the requirements per section 10.5.1 of the zoning bylaws. Provided the applicant makes adjustments as directed by the board and provides an update. Oh, no, not that last part. We've got the updated site plan.
But you could reference the date on the site plan, Bill, what's the date on the site plan?
As in the site plan provided in May 2020.
May of 2023.
23. Am I doing all of them?
Yeah.
I. I make a motion that the proposed application is consistent with the special permit criteria per section 10.4 of the zoning bylaw. And that the proposed application is consistent with the DOD criteria and criteria per section 9.4 of the zoning bylaw.
With the following conditions.
With the following conditions, the applicant shall, is this the new language? No. Am I making it up? Okay, so the applicant shall provide $10,000 to the Downtown Enhancement Fund for the town of Maynard within 3 months of CO,
Or open for business.
within 3 months of the opening of the business. Should I do 2 as well?
And you can reference these other conditions.
And then,
Say condition 2, 3, 4.
conditions 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Mr. Chair, may I interrupt?
1 second, let's just finish first, if you don't mind.
Conditions 2 through 9 shall remain the same as the previously given special permit for this applicant,
February 14th, 2020.
dated February 14th, 2023.
Right, so that's the motion, Attorney Sullivan, you had something to add?
Right, I think on condition 1, you need to add the language that was in 2023. The remaining fund shall be used towards a mural and or disabled parking space within the downtown overlay district.
I think that now that the mural and the disabled parking space will be done from the town, this new town fund.
Oh, okay,
So that will definitely be part of what, you know. I think that that's what the Office of Municipal Services will be able to direct, you know, the money to be spent in different directions as needed.
Before there's a second, do we need a condition that they allow if it happens a mural on that side of that building? Isn't that the
Oh, yeah.
plan? Or is it okay now that it's gonna be added? Well, we're ready about that.
I mean, the money's going to the Downtown Enhancement Fund, and then that gets determined and distributed separately. And that now we don't need to discuss a mural at all, do we?
The property owner, you're saying the property owner has to promise to allow a mural if one pops up?
Yeah, that was the original discussion 2 years ago. I don't know if it's matters. At one point, that's what the intention was before.
Right. Can I amend what I said? Okay, so, the first condition will now read, the applicant shall provide $10,000 to the Downtown Enhancement Fund managed by the Office of Municipal Services to be used for downtown enhancement in which may include a mural on the side of the building.
Right, which may. Right.
That's the end of my sentence, yes,
People will apply for it.
yes.
And I think that we need to modify condition 3. Since we already have updated site plan.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I think it's strike.
So, yes, right there.
Okay, my motion will now strike condition 3.
Did we get it?
Well,
Good. Alright, any other changes? Good, someone has to second it. Alright, motion's been made and seconded. Any final discussion? Okay, all in favor of Bill, before I actually vote, are you good with that, Bill? Nemser? Can you hear me? Yeah. Alright, good. Okay. All in favor of the motion as made and amended and stricken, please raise your hand. That's 4-1. I presume you're voting no?
Correct.
Okay, so that's 4-1 for approval of this, of the motion,
For the application.
for the motion. 4-1 for the motion, which is the application, yes.
Okay.
Attorney Sullivan, the motion carried 4-1 in favor for the special permit and the site plan for a period of 2 years.
Thank you for your time. I very much appreciate it. And stay cool.
Thank you, Mr. Sullivan.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Shout out to 2023 Bill Crenshaw,
Have to stay consistent.
back again.
I couldn't figure out why I was changed.
You also don't remember why you voted no either.
I didn't find that it met the special criteria, the good did not weigh the bad,
Okay,
it just added no.
Fair. Fair. You should stay with your first statement, though. I didn't find any reason to change.
Now,
Like children, no,
Yeah.
still, I still haven't found a reason to say that.
We replace that specific soon or just parts or is in general?
Yeah, let's have something that just implies each other.
How many are there?
free.
3. 4. So
Yeah,
we're not getting any.
Okay.
Something
Now,
better.
Bill Nemser, can you hear me?
yes,
Okay. Do you want to, should we turn to the 2 public hearings for the Powder Mill Overlay
I
District?
think we should, yeah, and the first question I'd ask is, because they're related, you know. I don't know how we've done it in the past, the map amendment is related to, but we should
We
probably,
can open up both hearings.
and
Yeah, we've done it before. I know this is why we can't do it again, but
well, Bill's gonna give a presentation first. Well, I guess. Open up the hearing and do a presentation, I think should the board can hear it together.
Yeah. I think we all can talk about it together. I think. I mean, if you want, I can wait to open up the map amendment.
In the map amendment, if we, yeah, I think probably to keep it neat and clean.
Okay, so we'll just open up the first
Yeah.
public hearing. And then we'll open up the map amendment afterwards. All right, I'll open up the public hearing. This is item number 4 on the agenda. It's to amend section 9.7 of the zoning bylaws for the Powder Mill Overlay District to create the Powder Mill Overlay zoning subdistricts of D, E, and F. This is a proposal initiated by the planning board to continue the creation of subdistricts in the Powder Mill Overlay zoning district itself. Bill Nemser, for the record, for people watching this later on, would you just like to give an overview of this before the planning board presents?
This is a amendment of the Powder Mill Overlay District of D, E and F subdistricts. The reason for the subdistricts was to allow for development of individual neighborhoods in a manner that's consistent and remains in general harmony with the surrounding area, but while making the improvements that benefit from a cohesive overall vision on the corridor based on higher density units, increased walkability and safer non-motorized vehicular transportation infrastructure and aesthetic improvement. All of the riverfront properties are also intended to contribute to an overall environmental and aesthetic improvement of the river and an activation where it is appropriate. So these sub-districts, probably the most helpful thing to do would be to share this, so that there's a good idea of what we're talking about tonight,
We haven't opened up that hearing yet.
and
This presentation, we'll go through all of it.
Oh, good, okay.
share this and why it's a little bit. So this gives you an idea of what the affected areas are.
Okay, let's turn this over to Bill Crenshaw, you can present on this?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you need Bill to run some slides?
yes, he has them.
Okay.
Okay, let's get yours opened up and we'll share that. Oh, okay, so boom. And I put you on the desktop so we don't have any problems. And you are in the D. And let's make this share. All right, Mr. Crenshaw, you're on.
And can you? Yeah, thank you.
Do we open a hearing?
You're,
Did we open here?
Open hearing?
I opened up the hearing.
Right,
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did.
Thank you.
Yes,
the PMOD.
yes. I opened up item 4, the public hearing to amend section 9.7. Yeah, it's been opened.
Okay, so Bill, if you go to the next slide, that's a reminder of some of the things you touched on. This is one of the many implementation elements of Powder Mill Road Corridor Initiative, which was an initiative started back in 2022 with Acton, Maynard, and the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, working on the whole corridor and addressing several issues, one of which ended up being the recommendation that there be an overlay zoning district to shape future development. Now, if we go to the next slide, please. That corridor initiative work came out with several sub-districts, each of which have different characteristics. Down by the river, it's lower intensity mixed use. Up on sub-district A, which is Sudbury Street, the old Stratus property, it's very high intensity, commercial and residential. And then, F, which is basically the Wendy's parking lot and the self-storage facility, would be a transition space between the higher intensity up in A and the lower intensity down along the river. Now, timing wise, the next slide, if we go to Bill, go to the next slide. This reminds us that we've already done the zoning for District A. We did that back in 2024, got approved at town meeting in 2024, so A is all done. What we're talking about now is the zoning for the remaining business sub-districts, D, E, and F. At some later point, we'll need to address the zoning for the remaining residential sub-districts, B and C. We'll flip to the next slide and step back a little bit, make sure everybody understands what a zoning overlay district does. All right. It's a voluntary choice for property owners who want to develop their properties. They can continue doing what they're doing under the existing zoning, that's fine. Or they can choose to do something different using the overlay zoning rules, but they can only do one or the other. And ideally, the overlay district rules provide more flexibility. Allows more and different types of uses. The dimensional requirements for the building size and how much open space areas is different. The parking requirements are lower, and in some cases, there are fewer permitting requirements. All right, next slide here. So, just to reiterate the status here, we've moved on from the planning in 2022. We got the first piece approved in 24. Since then, we've been working on the draft zoning language for the next three pieces, D, E, and F. And now we're here at this meeting, and the outcome of this meeting will be to finalize the language for D, E, and F, such that we end up at town meeting in the fall. Now, spoiler alert, we're not quite ready to finalize the text because there are some at least minor adjustments to the text that need to be made, so this hearing probably should not end tonight. But it's not a big deal. All right, so let's go into what the changes are. Here comes the next slide here. So hopefully everybody, at least in this room, have looked at the proposed language. And language has multiple sections. Now, keep in mind that there is a version of 9.7 already in our zoning bylaw that was done for sub-district A. So the first parts really aren't changing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're minor changes, if at all. Then after that, we have some sections where we have to just add the new requirements for the new districts. And then at the very end, we have a couple of things on site and building design standards, some of which apply to every project, some of which apply to just big projects. And that's new stuff. So let's move on to the next slide and start talking about what the use differences might be. And first, just explanation for everybody on the wording in the potential warrant article text. As a big old table, and where it says a use is a Y, it would be allowed by right, no special permit required, they just go to the building inspector and do their project. As an SP, special permits required, they have to come to us usually. If it's an N, means it's something they can do under the base zoning, but if they want to use the overlay zoning rules, they can't do it. And then if it's blank, which a lot of them are, it just means that the rules, the use allowed by the overlay is the same as the use allowed by the base. And then a final thing is, all the MODA sub-district uses are existing and not being changed. That's the stuff that was approved in 2024. So this next slide shows what we're changing for sub-district F. And the big thing to keep in mind is that's currently zoned as industrial. Industrial does not allow any residential at all and is very limited in classic business uses. So the proposed text, if they chose to use the PMOD rules, would allow residential uses on that property if they wanted to. Could be mixed use, it could be a standalone multifamily. And it'll allow the option to have more business uses. Right now, basically, the only thing you're allowed to have is an office. Not even allowed to have a medical office. But the PMOD rules would allow you to have a retail store, a restaurant, a hotel, all sorts of things. All right, so let's go to show what the difference in E is. And the difference is less intense because E is already zoned for business. So there's very few changes in the allowable businesses. What the big difference is that our business zoning doesn't allow any residential use. But the PMOD would allow residential use if it was part of a mixed use project. Such that residential is on the upper levels and commercial is on the lower level. And it has a couple different things there. It says, you know, if the mixed use involves more than 12 living units, then they have to get a special permit. But if it's a small project and it's 12 or fewer than 12 dwelling units, they don't need to get a special permit. And then lastly, we have the PMOD sub-district D rules. So go to the next slide. And it's essentially exactly the same as E. You know, it's zone business now. It doesn't allow residential, but this will allow mixed use residential, and most of the business uses are already allowed. So So those are the big differences in the allowed uses. So let's go to the next slide and look at the differences in affordable housing requirements. We keep in mind that, you know, the town has zoning chapter called inclusionary zoning, and most of that stuff is gonna apply. The only thing that would change under the PMOD rules is the percentage of units that would be affordable, and it gets rid of the different percentages between ownership and rental units. It's the same percentage regardless. Now, two different changes. One, that we had to do a special change for the A sub-district, the thing that we already approved a couple of years ago, because we're required to figure out and do a financial analysis to figure out what percentage is financially feasible according to the state calculations. And that analysis was not ready in 2024. It has since been done. And now we know what those numbers are, and the state requires us to use those numbers. So that's one of the proposed changes. Now, for the other districts, the DEF, the other business districts, we're pretty close to the existing rules for inclusionary zoning townwide, but for smaller projects, it's slightly fewer. Now, it's 10% instead of 12 or 15%. And then for larger projects, you don't hit the 25% threshold until you hit 40 units, whereas currently it's 18 units. And that's a couple reasons. One is trying to be a little consistent with that financial analysis of what's feasible. And also to encourage, if there is somebody who wants to build a big standalone residential project, that they do it in this area rather than somewhere else, like some Parker Street conservation land.
Bill, before we go to the next slide, could you just explain to the board and to the public about our 60% conversation about how our changes we made in the last town meeting will apply here?
Yes, so the last town meeting, we changed the overall inclusionary zoning to say that if you're providing affordable units, the standard from the state is that it has to be affordable to somebody earning 80% of the area median income. We made a change that when you're counting how many you have to give, that if you provide units at 60% of the affordable income, then we count that as 2 units for your calculations. So that rule applies townwide, and it would apply here whether they're using base zoning or they're using the PMD zoning. So if they needed to provide 10 units, they could, at 80%, they could provide 5 at 60%, with the caveat that at least 10% of all units, regardless of the percent of the financial percent, are affordable.
That's huge.
Well, all right, the next one is changes to dimensional requirements. Now, the big thing is for all the parcels, D, E, and F, we had to add rules for residential parcels because they didn't have it before. The other thing that we're doing, especially along the river, is proposing modest reductions in the size of the frontage from 100 feet down to 50 feet. A little bit, few feet less in front yard requirements. In the river for E, which is basically where, you know, Aspen Co-op is. The changes would allow an increased building height from 35 feet to 45 feet to give people a reason to do a new development. And then there's some changes to open space requirements for the river edge that are a little complex that I'll touch on the next slide, but also in PMODF sub-district. It's the numbers end up essentially the same as along the river, except, you know, it's currently zoned industrial, which requires really big parcels, so the difference is relatively large, but the final numbers are essentially the same as the other proposed business districts. So let's go on the next slide, and just one tricky thing about the proposed open space requirements along the river. one of the open space requirements. Well, most of the parcels just say. In A and F anyways, it says that 25% of the parcel has to be open space. The proposal here is that. In D and E along the river. 10% of the parcel has to be open space. But. Any space more than 150 feet from the road has to be entirely open space. So anything above that dashed yellow line. Wouldn't be buildable, basically. Now. We really wanted to just say, it has to be open space X feet away from the river, but the river always changes. So. We did it Y feet from the road. So that's in there now, and it's set at 150 feet in. If you look at it now, the aspect go up, the old Victory Plaza thing really couldn't have been built. But it's fine, it's grandfather, it can stay, it's no big deal, but if they ever redevelop that whole parcel, it would need to be. The building would need to be pulled back from the river, if that's where the river still was. So that's the open space requirement.
Have there ever problems with flooding along there?
I don't know, I don't recall.
Not that I'm aware of recently, but.
It has, the river edge has changed over the years, if you look at some aerials, so there is. Shore end erosion, whatever it's called, but. It doesn't go tall enough, I know the housing authority complex at the far end of that has never been hit. Right, the next section regards parking. And thing to keep in mind is the town zoning has an existing parking section and 99% of that stuff will still apply to the PMOD. And that includes the ability of the planning board to waive any of the parking requirements. But specifically to the PMOD, it's proposed that there be a minimum number of spaces that is less than current rules, because frankly, all the projects we ever see, they always ask for less parking than we require. This one also includes a maximum number of parking spaces, which is effectively what we currently require as our minimum. And the point is, the maximum is just to make sure we don't build too much parking if we don't need to, especially along the river. So if they want more parking, they just have to come in and make their case and talk about it. And just like people who ask for relief in getting less parking, they could ask for relief in getting more parking. All right, and then the last two things are site and building design standards. And there's two sets of those. One applies to everything that uses the PMOD rules. And it has that list of things, enhance the view of the riverfront, visual distinction between the ground and upper, walkway connections from the sidewalk. A big one is, for the sidewalk along the frontage, they either have to build it if it isn't there, or they have to repair or reconstruct if it's not up to current standards. Also, for the properties that are along Powder Mill, they would need to provide an easement for possible future expansion of public walkway and sidewalks. And that easement would actually be, they're already are required to have a landscape setback, and the easement would be in their landscape setback. Other general requirements are minimize the number and width of driveways for pedestrian safety. Prioritize getting parking on the sides of buildings rather than on the front or the back. Provide street trees and do vista pruning for the parcels that are abutting the river. And then if we go to the large projects requirements on the last slide, next slide. We have some additional rules. Now, large projects is proposed to be defined as a building size greater than 10,000 square feet. Or a land area greater than 50,000 square feet. 50,000 square feet is a little more than an acre, which is actually bigger than almost all the parcels along the river. But I guess if they were gonna combine parcels to do a large project, then they'd go under these rules. And these rules include enhancing architectural requirements. Big thing is if you're abutting the river, don't turn your back to the river. Don't just put your deliveries and your trash in the back, make the rear of the building as a secondary primary facade. And then also requirement for some modest pedestrian amenities, pocket parks, and preferably those with river access. And so that's a summary of the first article of the changes to the text. Now, we also have an article just basically is defining what parcels are in each of those sub-districts. That's the second part of this. I don't have a slide for that, but that's what we got, and happy to have any questions.
Who wants to go first? Yeah. Okay, I'll ask some questions. Bill, can you scroll up to the slide, which has the yellow dotted line, 150 feet away from the road?
Mhm.
Down, you've seen past it already.
Down.
Okay. How are we defining open space? Is that defined in our documents?
Yes, it has a definition. It basically means no structures.
Okay. Does it,
It might also mean no structure, I believe, no pavement, basically.
okay,
But we have a definition in the current zoning of that.
if someone had like a statue, would that count towards open space?
I would
Yeah.
hope not, but I don't know, if it's big enough to be called a structure,
Yeah.
perhaps, yes.
So the concept here is to have basically openness and not like park features. Right.
No, there is an exception for park features, so if they're doing a pocket park with river access.
Yeah.
That's an exception within this,
And that would be open space,
so that would be fine,
like a bench is part of open space,
yes.
right?
So
Okay,
that stuff is fine, but if you wanna put
a water fountain,
a garage back there to keep your car, no.
yeah, of course, right. But like a statue with a water fountain feature,
We'll talk to conservation, but otherwise, yes, that's fine.
that would also be, so that would be open space square footage?
Yeah,
I can't
I don't think it's
tell
a
you
structure.
exactly,
I'm just trying to find out what the line is.
it's in this document, in these proposed texts, if it's part of a pocket park and public access,
Yeah.
it's totally
Okay.
allowed. But if it's private, I'm a little unsure.
Got it, cause open space means available
Mhm.
essentially to folks,
No. Open space just means not built.
not built.
Pocket parks are available to folks.
Pocket parks are available to folks.
Public amenities and pocket parks.
Right, but you can have private open space, I mean, right now it is open space, because it's just a bunch of trees.
Okay. And then, how did we come up with the 150 foot number? Is that just a good estimate, or was there something that was based on it?
It's pretty much the back line of Middlesex Bank.
Okay, yeah, that's.
And keep in mind that, farther down towards downtown, 150 feet's out in the water, so.
Right.
It doesn't really apply, it only applies to these,
Right,
this area here.
and this only applies to E? Or is it applied
No,
to E and-
Technically, it would apply to D if the river ever changed, I suppose, but
What about the residential district in the future? Would it apply to that too? The way it's written?
it could, or we could exempt the residential districts from it.
Sure, but the way it's written now, it's basically,
Way it's written now, it applies to anything PMOD along the river.
north side of the road, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Where from 150 feet? From like the center of the road, the curb line? Did we?
No, it's from the, it's actually from the frontage, so
Oh,
it's
the property frontage.
public right of way line, yeah.
Got it, okay. Got it.
I am wondering if it might need to be, 165 feet. But. Cause I'm trying to figure out where the line we did for the car dealers was.
Mm,
I think it's a tad farther than 150, a much, a little bit.
right, cause that was. Whatever it was, 80 feet from the back of the building.
Yeah.
And those measurements on this figure are pretty good. Right, so looking at this,
Well, those measurements are very,
that's okay, so that yellow line is pretty accurate.
oh, it's touching the yellow line, yes, maybe it's touching the northern part or the southern part, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's somewhere on that yellow.
Okay. I don't think I'd want it less than 150 feet. I could make a case for having it more than 150 feet.
Yeah, I agree, yeah, less would be a little too constrictive.
Right, exactly.
But more, I really do wanna figure out where that line is that we set for the 76 power.
Okay. Yeah,
Are there any like conservation commission or any other guidelines to? To guide that number, like away from like I know the river's line changes, but. Is there any rule of thumb for
Well,
buffer,
see, that's the problem, conservation goes from the river,
right?
and we can't do that. But we also have to keep in mind that, we set these rules and we say, oh, you can't do anything here, you can do something here. Conscom might have a whole bunch of other rules say, no, you can't. So this is just our set of rules, guidance. But they
Is
also
there a chance
have to
that
go by the
those rules
conservation
would
rules.
conflict with this?
Well, the conflict will be probably, if we say it's 180 feet, they'll say, oh, no, that's too close to the river at this parcel. You can't be that close.
yeah, but then they won't get a building permit.
Right,
Right.
so,
So-
but we have to keep in mind that, river edge stuff. Both planning board and conservation commission have their own sets of rules and guidelines that all three of them follow. And the alternative is, we could just say, yeah, 25% open space everywhere, just like we do in some district F and some district A. And most everywhere else in town.
Is the point of having 150 feet, that's just to help create more open space towards the river, right? Is that the concept here?
Well, a couple things, it's, yes, to. Preserve potential riverside access. Preserve, riverside. Environment, and also. Frankly, a 25% open space requirement on some of the parcels of budding powder mill probably is a little too much. I mean, you take, the Middlesex Bank lot again, they don't have 25%, but, it kind of fits. So. 25% might be too much for small parcels and. This is, allowing. Less open space on the small parcels adjacent to the river, or adjacent to the road. But protecting more open space along the river.
Can the applicant seek a variance of sorts? For either the 150-foot line or the 25% space? Can we come in and say, well, we can get to 22, would that be allowed?
The current proposed language does not specifically say that, but. Question back to you is, what do we do now if they want less than that?
Don't know.
Open space requirement.
We haven't come across that, so I don't actually know.
No.
I can't think of an applicant that. We had to discuss that.
Yeah, I mean, it would be, I would probably not want that to have to go to the zoning board for a waiver.
Yeah, I think, let's ask Bill how that would play out.
Well, cause you can see some of the parcels, right? That if the one that's in the middle of that bump out, right, said, hey, what if I want to develop, I wanna pave, or I wanna. Whatever it is, further back, but I'm still way over 25%.
Yeah.
What,
So Bill, what do we do now if somebody's proposal does not meet the minimum open space requirements? Can we waive that? Do they have to go to
But
ZBA?
it came in today?
Yeah.
If they, in other words, if a proposal came in today for a new project.
Yeah.
Would it have to meet our proposed?
No,
change?
no, today, no PMOD, just today, I walk in, I wanna build this,
Yeah,
and I wanna do 5% open space and not 10.
right.
Can this board say sure, or does it have to go to ZBA?
That would have to go to ZBA because it's deviation from the dimensional requirements.
Okay,
So right now, unless it's specified somewhere else, like in the, but if you came in an industrial business or whatever those, under straight zoning, any deviation from the dimensional requirements like that.
so under the PMOD, would we add the ability for us to waive the open
Yeah.
space requirements?
Or to or to allow modification is what.
Yeah, so we would do it with the DOD.
I think the word relief.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah, if it's called out and it's built in.
I just, yeah, I'm just trying, I'm thinking about having some flexibility for things that we did not foresee. That's all, and I like the whole concept of it. But, there's always a scenario where we go, oh, that would have been helpful to have that written.
Yeah, well, I think we found that to be the case, like, for example, the thing that always jumps out to me is how we really have utilized the DOD parking, the ability to waive parking.
Right.
In the DOD, I mean,
Right.
because God knows what we would,
And it would, having 25% open space sounds like a great goal. It might be good to have some flexibility to
yeah,
to
We
give
can do
relief,
that.
but it should be. What's the word? Constrictive, so the relief should be constrictive, meaning. That it. There should be, the language, we should have maybe we should have some language that says like, we should have substantial. Something substantially proven that it's reasonable or necessary somehow. I don't wanna be.
for the
I don't wanna-
25%.
Yeah, I don't wanna-
And we might also wanna maintain at least a minimum of 25%.
Sure.
Since,
So in essence, 25% and less.
could be relief up to. Or down to 25%, I don't know, what,
Yeah.
some number.
Yeah, just some guidelines around what relief should look like for the board, so a future board just doesn't.
Yeah.
Really relieve it.
relief can be considered, provided the open space. Requested is above. Is a minimum of 25%.
Or they donate open space someplace else in town,
Uh.
like we have with DOD.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I suspect that 9 out of 10 times that. Conservation Commission rules are gonna apply regardless.
So how's our unless? Unless otherwise,
I don't know.
unless.
We'll work on that later before the.
This is why you get paid, Bill, to figure
Is
out
the
that.
land north of.
I
the
come up with it.
yellow line buildable?
So. Yeah, some has a building on it, yeah. Yeah, I'll just build it, looks pretty high. One other related thing on this is, the large project. Rules apply if the parcel is more than 50,000 square feet,
Mhm.
and I was thinking maybe. The 100% open space section shouldn't have to count in that 50,000 square foot calculation.
Well, say that one more time.
Alright,
So for a large project of more than 50,000 square feet. You're saying the 100% open space requirement,
shouldn't count as that 50,000 calculation.
should not count towards.
The area on the
the-
riverside of the yellow line doesn't count in the 50% threshold, 50,000 square foot threshold for the project.
Yeah, but if we're talking about,
Oh, I see what you're saying, because if they buy a property that has the bulge there of the.
Right, and they could
trees,
just build a tiny little thing and they'd still be counted as a large project because
Yeah,
it's 50,000 square feet.
yeah, but what if they combine multiple parcels and they make something, well, I guess it was over 10,000 square feet, it would hit it too.
Right,
What if
and
they say, make something that's,
it's 50,000 square feet this side of the yellow line.
50,000 square feet within 150 feet of the roadway.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There would have to be some sort of footnotes on these dimensional tables for that. but-
you see a project where, multiple parcels were combined, where that could be a problem?
Yeah, the lower parcels,
Yeah,
I mean, actually, I think several of them are advertised for sale together now.
yes,
Uh, But, yeah, so I don't know, so that's a thought. I mean, I just wouldn't wanna penalize somebody for having, leaving river side open space untouched.
Right. Right.
and you consider the large project requirements to be penalties.
Well, from the developer standpoint, yes.
Hopefully not,
Try not to scare them away. so
I know,
We want
I
to do something right, but we have to get them to want to do something.
we're giving them 10 extra feet, come on.
Yeah, right. Well, we're allowing mixed use. So,
Right,
in this area.
what does 10,000 square feet look like again?
10,000 square feet,
The structure,
No, I'm like comparatively,
Jeff, what do you think those back parking lots are? In town, right back there where we park. How big do you think is?
Well, it's 60 feet wide by each space, call it 10 feet, so each space is.
like 35
600.
spaces.
Right from curb to curb would be 600.
You know, I thought you would have a feel for this.
Well,
I believe the paper store, the
Yeah.
old paper store has a footprint of 4,000.
Okay. This building's probably getting close to
Getting there.
10.
It's getting there, yeah.
this building,
With the police station, it's probably 10, maybe.
I always use 10,000 as always like a CVS, it's good. For a building,
CVS could be,
that's like a
our
typical-
CVS could be
typically
close.
those are 10,000.
Yeah, ours might be less than that, but yeah.
Ours might be, yeah, but in general, CVS.
So,
yeah,
The Walgreens, that's now Emerson.
Yep.
That's 10,000, at each floor.
okay,
That's probably as good as we'll get.
it's a good sized building.
it is,
For us, it's a good sized building.
That deserves attention.
yeah.
I think that's two things we could think about. One is about how to provide some relief to the line and the open space requirements, and two, how to fit in the large projects. I have a couple other questions on other topics, but do you guys want to stay on this topic if there's other questions?
Yeah, my quick thought on the open space stuff is that line just seems restricted. I acknowledge there is like gonna be conservation requirements for going past that line. But there are probably parts of some of those back parcels that are out of the 200-foot. Which is, I'm just wondering. I've seen it in other zoning bylaws before where you've got a little bit of a. The bylaws kind of allow you to do a little bit more if you provide publicly accessible open space. And if, that meant that you could go past that 150-foot line if some of what you're providing in the back for open space allowed the general public to go back there and enjoy it as well as whatever the business is. And maybe by the nature of a mixed use project, you are kind of inviting the public back there anyway, but. You know, whether it was, I don't know what, I'm looking at the chart now, what, you know, you'd get extra of, but. Cause you're already getting a height bonus. But
Do you mean like making that line move?
either making it move or I hadn't really. In the other ones that I've seen, it was more like you, if you provide. You know, we mentioned the 25% of the, whatever percentage, if
Yeah.
you provided, you know. 15 as opposed to 10 or 20 as opposed to 10. You got more something, you know, and. Whether it was more. Something that would make someone wanna use it more, I don't know. You don't want super tall buildings over there, like you said, you're already getting the height, but.
I mean, we do have, like Bill was saying, we have the language saying that. For large, well, we call it out for large projects, but I suppose it could be for anyone, that if you have a public amenity. Then that can be in your open space. But you're saying maybe like give them more distance, more. Distance from the road. If they're going to have a public park or amenity. Like give them, move that yellow line.
Yeah, I
Where
think that would be,
appropriate on the, I mean, ideally it would be on the parcels where there's more places to go.
yeah, I'm just looking at the ones on the left for the most part, the
Right.
really deep ones.
Like you're saying, like, yeah, well,
Any good ideas on how to word that?
I have to think on it a little bit more, but.
but if we did it over there on the left, Jeff, wouldn't it, wouldn't we just run into conservation? Issues?
Not necessarily, he was saying that he thinks that the 200 foot. I mean, if we're looking at 150 feet,
Right,
some of those are more than, there's space in between the 200 foot buffer. And the yellow line that we have, and the idea is that if conservation isn't gonna touch it, then.
And there's space for like maybe one parcel has that situation. It's like a little donut hole. Between the 200 off
Right.
from the river, the current river boundaries, that.
If Conscom is gonna restrict them that much, is this line providing any use?
well, for new development.
It's allowing them to keep open space in the rear of their property and not requiring it in the front. Because the vision for this is, you know, a compact, small scale, walkable, neighborhoody thing. And if we require too much open space, then it can't be that compact.
Yeah, so I think, Chris, the usefulness, and I agree with you. There's. From your point of view, the usefulness is just to. Guide where we want development to be. In a sense. So we want it to be more, the development to be more road based. And that's the guidance on it.
It also does provide relief for some of the parcels that are quite shallow. That if they go by this 150 foot thing, they're gonna have less than 25%, you know?
Yeah.
Which they would think of as beneficial on those shallower.
Oh, yeah, that's true for. Yeah, for actually probably half the parcels,
Right,
it's actually. Means they have lower landscape requirements than. Than.
Open space,
than
yeah.
Generically required.
Would we? Give relief to minimum front yard requirements then?
You mean,
We never have.
you mean the frontage?
Yeah, well, not the frontages,
Well.
The setback.
Yeah, in
I'm
the
talking setback,
No.
yeah.
zoning board would have to, unless we amended, unless we called it out.
But I would not for the. Certainly for the D and E parcels. Because we're requiring an easement into the landscape setback. For future adjustments. To the roadway design to provide for complete streets accommodation for all users. So we don't really want to bring the buildings up closer because we need that space for bike lanes and things.
And honestly, I know that the river edge may change, but the only parcels that. Where it's a 25-foot setback, right?
That's what we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be a concern, would be, to the bottom left of the map that we're looking at, the Elks parcel, the Elks. It gets real narrow in there, and that's a long skinny parcel. Which would make it, more complicated, but that's a complicated parcel to begin with, so.
Yeah, we're not making it tougher, we're just leaving it pretty much. Most of us is.
Yeah. It's messy because this is a diverse river edge, right, in terms of the shape of the parcels. But
Yeah.
the 150 feet is supposed to. Especially if we give. Right, if we can work in language where we say 150 feet or maintain 25%, and you can ask to maintain 25% and. Show us what you wanna do, right?
You're saying 100. Say again?
I'm just saying, I think that if we can add language to say that relief from the 150-foot boundary may be requested. If the project shows a minimum of 25% open space.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah. Or, and that may not be the only reason for relief. But that's one,
Right,
right?
Providing 25.
And that still provides a.
well, they can ask for whatever reason they want, but show us that you're still providing 25% open space.
Yeah, I like this,
Yeah,
like,
and that approach provides still the advantages to the smaller parcels that they don't need the old ones.
Exactly.
yeah, I think we just grant them relief on it, but this is the guidelines. Sense.
So that those longer skinnier parcels can come to us and say, hey, I wanna build a driveway that goes to 180 feet, but.
Yeah.
It's small, this is what else I'm doing, like, this is what I'm maintaining.
And someone may wanna put a brewery in the backwooded area there.
Exactly,
That's, like you said, 180 feet from the road.
Still,
Yeah, sure, that too, yeah. Yeah. You love breweries,
Cause I know marijuana store.
oh, yeah.
so. I like the concept of having this, I like this as the bones of it and then relief. I like this concept and then having relief. When it makes sense.
I think
right?
that makes sense. And giving the flexibility of having it built in.
and have it be us instead of zoning.
Yeah, it'd be unfair for the developer to bounce it between boards.
Yeah. So we could work on that. I mean, we don't. Want to have this scheduled for our next meeting. We have a pretty busy meeting and I'm not gonna be here, or I might be here remote. But,
I think it would be actually advantageous for this to just fester on our website. In case it generates some comments for our next,
yeah. Good to know.
Yeah, no,
before we reconvene the hearing, so I don't mind waiting a while, we have time, right?
You don't mind what?
We have time, right?
we have,
Yeah. But this draft, now I have a working draft for us.
Yeah.
So we can talk about what changes you want to put out there based on tonight's conversation.
Yeah, and there are some little things that need to be done, like table names. And actually, I haven't checked it against the new use definitions that we just passed in May.
yeah, that'd be
I
all.
gotta double check that, little things, just
That's a good
just
point.
need to be checked.
I had some other questions. Unless anyone wanted to talk about this more. It looks like we're limiting building height to 35 feet in E, but everything else is essentially 45 feet. And can you just run me through why we're thinking that in E, not in others?
Cause they're shallow.
What's
What you said before.
Who, me?
No.
What did I say?
I don't know.
You're the one who changed the vote.
Oh, I just want to remember what we said 35.
Because I'm pretty sure it's existing here.
Yes, I think
It's
current,
it's existing for the business district.
We're chang-
Private standard,
and I,
loosening it in E.
Got it. Okay.
but I do think it had to do with. The fact that the properties are so shallow,
Like the property depth?
yes.
Yeah, right.
That we didn't feel like loosening it in E was appropriate.
Right, because E is supposed to be transitioning into the downtown and it overlaps with more residential. So,
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we don't want tall, really skinny buildings. And that doesn't make
mean-
sense for the space.
I wouldn't really mind it, but there are a lot of residences, there are several residences on that side. To consider, I don't know,
And the 2 to 4 powder mill property that we had a special permit for that's limited at 35 feet, right?
I don't recall, but it wouldn't be covered by this
It
because
wouldn't, sure, but
this doesn't go that far.
It's under DOD.
but that's 35 feet though, I thought too. Right, 'cause that was only 3 stories.
Yeah.
DOD is DOD 45? Pretty sure it is.
45 is, the clock tower or the, HDI,
I think it's 35.
HCI and, industrial.
Because otherwise 115 Main. would
Do we
be
change
4
it?
stories.
DOD is 45, two stories or 45.
Good job. The underlying must have been 35. Wow.
One thing to note, building height, for subdistrict F. Would actually be a decrease, because under industrial can be 40, and this would go down to 35 because it's street edge of gateway.
Oh, I thought that was, okay, I thought the presentation said 40.
Oh, did it? Oh, maybe I missed it.
I don't know, can you just scroll through these to the table? Yeah, the dimensional table.
Maybe we just left it then. Well, you're correct. That's 45 as well. Yep.
Okay,
Yep, so actually that's a decrease,
so that's.
oh, 40.
That's fine.
Yeah.
It's not. And we had a distinction of, number of units for by right at 12, right? So you can build up to 12. Essentially
use.
mixed use by right. Right, as a yes. And if it's over 12, it requires a special permit
For that use.
for the use.
It might require a special permit for something else.
Sure.
But, yeah, for that use.
And I think that was kind of a feel on the general size. We just wanted to control the larger projects. Right, isn't that the
Wanted to generate discussion and review of the larger projects. But wanted to encourage the smaller projects, because that's the goal of the Powder Mill Corridor Initiative for the river.
And the idea is that if someone can build a less than 10,000 square foot. 12 unit or less project, they can just do it.
Yeah, just do it.
Yep.
Right. You're
Mixed
already
use, like
mixed use, you're already doing mixed use. You have your design guidelines.
you have your town inclusionary.
Yeah.
Affordability, you know,
Right, so that makes it easier. Okay. But they might have to come for relief on open space or from 150.
Right.
Parking out, right.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. Those are my questions. What else? Good. I mean,
That'll work.
yeah, that works, right? Nice job.
That was these guys.
Bill, you wanna see if there's anyone online? They'll open this up for public comment.
Did we, my clarification? No.
Okay, so just for the
Did we
record,
open, we didn't open the map one, right?
no, I did not. So, but for the record, we opened up public comment. There's no one here in the room. There's no one online. Do we wanna open up the public hearing for the map now?
Do you want to continue this one?
We
And then
can.
open the next one?
Okay. When's there? You know what we're gonna do.
Well, next week, or our next meeting, I'm on vacation. I'm gonna see if Zoe can pinch it. But we have a pretty busy agenda, so I might wanna just zoom in if I can.
So that's July 8th would be the next meeting.
Yeah, July 8th. Now we're busy. We've got
No.
22nd
We'll continue to July 22nd.
or 4th.
22nd.
22nd.
It is? Okay.
I got that right, 22nd?
Yep.
Okay.
July 8th is the first meeting.
July, okay. You wanna continue this one to July 22nd? Yeah.
I'll make a motion to continue the hearing to the July 22nd at 7 PM.
I'll second that.
All in favor to continue, please raise your hand. It's 5-0 to continue to July 22nd.
Okay.
I'll open up the public hearing for the zoning map amendment. This is a Powder Mill Overlay District District D, E, and F. Simply regarding the map that's associated with the overlay district. Again, this was similar to the previous public hearing that we just, oh, hold on. No, I continued. I don't need to close the public hearing. Right, yeah.
You can do it.
Continue, okay. Similar to the previous public hearing that we just discussed, this is essentially the map that would be included in the zoning bylaws as part of the exhibit for the amendments we're looking to make. Do you want to discuss this, or Bill Crenshaw, do you want to discuss this?
I forgot all about this, so I'll let Bill.
It's just a map. We're adding F.
Yeah.
It's a map of the three zones, that sub-districts, and the list of the parcels. The assessor list of the parcels that are in each zone. So there's no confusion about whether, this part of a parcel is in D or E. We go by the list, everybody knows.
So this would be the official map essentially, but the
It's amended
official,
official town map.
so this is to amend the town map. That shows the official location of the overlay district with the
Right.
parcel numbers. Listed out.
And we did the same thing for A when we did that.
Are we sharing your screen? For the record.
I meant to, but maybe I didn't.
Okay, so that's the map. And this is the parcel list. Okay, can you go back down to the map? Thanks. And I will open up for public comments. And Bill, one more time, just checking if there's no one online. I don't believe there is.
Nope, we'll be online.
And there's no one here in the room either for public comment.
Shocking.
All these people.
Pulled up the stairs and everything.
Okay, better chairs.
I'll ask, I presume the answer is no, but any questions or comments on the map and the list of parcels?
I like the clarity.
Are these the official colors that are gonna go into to the town map?
I don't know. Zoe did this. She did a great job with it. I don't think that's been determined. Because
Well,
we're
there's
gonna,
no map, we usually just show overlays as.
Yeah.
A line around an area.
yeah, we're gonna redo that whole thing. That's one of the.
Okay.
I think it would be a good idea to just keep this with the other.
Do you wanna continue this as
I
well?
would think so, just in case something happens. There's no reason not to.
I mean, I can't imagine changing, but yeah, we can do that. All right, I'll make a motion to continue the public hearing to July 22nd at 7 p.m.
Second.
All in favor to continue, please raise your hand. 5-0, Bill, in favor of continuing to July 22nd. Alright. Minutes?
I got one set of minutes, if you got, neighbor.
Have any?
Sure. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes?
Not.
Everybody's spelled correctly?
Mhm.
Bill?
I spelled correctly.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from May 13th, 2025.
Second.
Anybody, anything before we vote? All right, all in favor? That's for,
Hello.
oh, want to vote? Sure, that's 5,
Not
Voting.
including Chris.
not including Chris.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Next meeting,
Technically, you don't have a planner update, but I think you should do one anyway.
well. Planner update
Enjoyed the cruise.
is all, I think I told you last time, I don't know if Mark had heard. But all our grants are in. We're just waiting to hear from them.
Nice job.
Well, thanks to everybody for helping with that one. We. Right now, our Steve's been out, our, one of our. Initiatives, that I'm gonna. Start. Promoting a little bit more, because now we're getting a date set up for presentation, is the road diet. I met with Bill and I and Steve met a little bit, and we just got it back. There's some pretty cool stuff, and we have some options now. So we're setting up with different options, so when we decide to roll this out and see what people think, here's how this would work, here's how this could work, here's how this could work. That's a big one. Next meeting, I'm on vacation. I'm a little bit, let me talk to Zoe, and I don't know if she's gonna be able to come in or not. Worst case scenario, I'll zoom in. Somebody will start this, but I think. So, Jim or Zoe, so we could start this, and I would just zoom in. We have. 3 items. We have 1 Summer Street, which is, you've had it's made changes since you saw it, since we were out and about. 1 Summer Street. We have the Rod and Gun Club, which is just a renewal for a cell tower. And we have the senior center. And the senior center, I'm gonna do a staff report on it, but senior center is a very limited site plan review. It's a really, they've asked for relief from the planning board's parking, and so they presented a package, which I think you've gotten already. And we're asking our peer reviewer, who I don't think was selected yet, they're looking at a couple. But basically, we're trying to limit it to parking and circulation. Since the building is existing, they're not adding much, or changing some stuff around inside, and most of it is on the interior.
Have we gotten that site plan yet? I know we got something, but I thought it was all inside stuff, but maybe I didn't notice.
Did we get the application?
Yeah,
I don't know if I had the site plan though.
Cause
you should.
they're knocking down that whole drive-through canopy, right?
It did have site
I'm
plan.
seeing that, really? Okay.
I think so.
Make sure.
Well, anyway, just before the hearing begins.
Let's make sure I'm right. That's 40, right? No, 140. here's what everybody was sent, this is everything we got here. And it was a clarification, I see on this, they put NBOD, it's not in the NBOD, it's just a straight industrial. So just don't get confused on that, here is the parking changes they're requesting, and it has a.
Little eyes.
Yeah, that's what I saw.
That's new, but I think the other things existing.
Yeah, there's a,
Is that proposed? That doesn't look proposed.
let's see what else.
Maybe I just looked at,
Maybe it's just a bad copy.
Yeah, they're not proposing any, I don't think that there's,
Well, they're changing the layout of the parking lot. They describe a change. Oh, there we go. There's something.
if you didn't get this, let me know.
I don't think I saw, I don't think I saw this.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that.
You didn't get it? David?
It's in the attachment that's always sent a couple of days ago.
Okay. Yeah, but there's that.
Oh, good.
Okay.
All right, if anybody needs anything, just let me know, should have had that. So, but the point is that, we're not. It's very limited. And here's, they did a good job explaining it, I gave him a heart attack the other day by accident, but,
why? How?
oh, because it said, when they sent it out, they said it's NBOD. So we didn't realize they didn't realize it's outside, it's industrial, they did everything for industrials. No, it is industrial, it's not, it was not incorporated in NBOD. Yeah. That is it, and then one Summer Street you've got, so that's it, so I think,
Do they need to do a traffic study?
what's that,
Do they need to do a traffic study for this?
this one?
Yeah,
We had a,
I'm trying to think of something that
no, we had a, what do we
won't
call
surprise
it?
you with anything.
We asked them to show.
Questions of cut through from market basket, I'm sure.
Mhm.
In the traffic study?
It's gonna come up there here.
They should.
Just tell them to close off the cut through.
That's been the whole thing.
Like people. Complaining about the cut through,
Yes.
like currently.
Not in a little while, but yeah. We'll still talk about it.
No, we didn't do a traffic study, we asked them for just a demonstration of ingress, egress. And interaction with because they're.
Well, we haven't opened up this hearing, so if anyone thinks a traffic study. Something's more substantial than what they provided should be included, you can pass that.
Yeah.
Advice to Bill, no, to.
This is what they.
And Bill, one other thing I'd like to see in the staff report is how it impacts the existing special permit on the property, because we did something, I don't really know what it was, but
This is the existing. We have two special permits on the property, I think you're talking about the zoning board of appeals one. We have this guy came in, remember,
I think it's that guy. We did something
It was just
for a use.
It was just parking,
yeah.
not enough parking spaces.
This was to let we had shortage for the medical use came in. We, they wanted medical, because at the time, they couldn't do medical office use.
Okay, so there's nothing conflicting.
Well, there's nothing conflicting, but there's a weird one that, we did with the zoning board, I can't remember if it came to the planning board too, but because there's a house in the back. But
What?
they could still use the house,
There's
they're
not.
gonna get, this is.
That thing in the furniture? All right.
Yeah. So, yeah, that should be,
Let's just condition to make the town demolish the house in the front. As part of the special permit.
Great. Great. Can I go over great?
Turn into what? Orchid Park?
They have to go back to town meeting to get more money.
Now, I gotta, you know what I have to do now? I have to bring my Mac in.
Excuse me.
And have somebody help me to edit our video.
Oh,
I had to do that before, cause our
Oh, right,
cheerleader
yeah, right, good luck.
really loved the emoji. And,
Well, that's the second time it's happened on planning board.
fourth for me.
Fourth?
Maybe
I got the
Yeah, right.
very first time.
So who are you friends with, Bill?
meeting?
That's a good point.
I thought that was your computer that came.
All right, fine, we'll make a motion to close the hearing.
The hearing?
Oh,
Both.
sorry, the meeting.
We continue the hearing. Good.
Yeah.
Close the meeting.
I'll second closing the meeting.
All in favor, to close the meeting. please.
Oh, can I ask before you go? I think this is before we.
I haven't taken account yet, so yeah, go ahead.
I forgot. Regarding compliance with the wine bar. We have, you recall that there's a question about ADA. Our ADA condition that we have to maintain that until, they have the.
The handicap parking space access,
Yeah, what I said,
ADA compliance, which is different, but
yeah.
to maintain.
Handicap parking. So when it's closed, the applicant has an agreement with CVS, they could use their spot, is that correct?
That's correct.
And so it will be adjacent, but while it's closed until it's open. So that was pretty much, the only other thing that we have for that. I think that meets all the purposes of that, so hopefully it's all done anyway, but in case. So.
And also related to compliance, I noticed in our minutes that the approval for 76 Powder Mill included a 30-day check for compliance. And it's been 30 days. I'll be curious to hear what's in the whole part.
That is off, yeah, that is in Rick's, 100% in Rick's wheelhouse, and we will get that done. That will, if it hasn't been, and see him to that. He's been out and about doing everything, so.
There,
For wait, 76A or 76?
The last one.
So it's
One of the minutes.
This is 76.
One we approved in May.
76A.
the used car.
The,
Yeah,
No,
car sale.
Park sale.
Used car.
yeah, no, that's 76.
All right.
Yeah,
so-
I think 76 A.
Yeah, well, I went over there and they were complying with they had put the barrier in the back. But I'm drawing a blank on anything else
There's still parking the car
on the property, a town property.
to the left
That
of the sign.
that will be, yeah, Rick knows about that, yeah.
I mean, town does have the right to tow,
Yeah.
so, you know, just letting you know.
He said he was having a hard time moving them, so maybe. we can help
Yeah,
him.
I don't know. All right, motion been to close the hearing, all in favor, please raise your hand.
Close the meeting.
Close the meeting. Yep. You definitely need to close. the meeting.
Seconded that.
All right, 5-0 to close the meeting, thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Good meeting.
Stay
Except for
cool.
you, except for my, how I edited it has to be done.